A whole new makeup of Congress, both sides, but on the House, there will be at least 85 women filling seats in the House. All told, more than 100. Those are historic numbers. And so we want to talk about the wave of women who are going to be affecting legislation and the future for Americans, with a very special guest who has a very interesting dual take. Her specialty is women in politics. She lectures on that at Princeton, but she's also a former Republican staffer, and she's in Princeton, New Jersey this morning. Professor Lauren Wright, thank you for being our guest this morning.
Hi, Heather. What a nice intro. I'm so happy to be with you.
Well, great to be with you, too. Let's just separate your specialties for a moment, if you will. Focus on women. As you watched last night, was this Year of the Woman 2.0?
Yes, and, above and beyond what we saw in the 1990s. We're still watching a few races. I'm still watching my home state of California pretty closely, watching Nevada still. But no matter how you slice it, as you just said, we're going to have historic numbers of women. And that actually means historic progress, and a lot of stuff's going to get done in Congress, because we know women of both parties are more moderate on average than their male counterparts. They sponsor, co-sponsor more legislation. They work more in a bipartisan fashion. And so this is good for everyone, not just women, to have all of these women elected.
Not just power in the names on the ballot who are going to Congress, but the power was in the women casting the ballots. The suburban, educated woman determined pretty much what happened in the makeup of that House. So speak to how women essentially repudiated Donald Trump's message.
Exactly. So, I think Donald Trump has made it really hard for Republican women to stand by him with his comments about women constantly. I mean, he just said last week Stacey Abrams isn't qualified to be governor of Georgia. He says stuff like this all the time about women and women of color, it seems, in particular. And so women, and again, not just legislators, as you mentioned, voters, women voters tend to be more moderate. They tend to be more thoughtful. They tend to think more about personal issues, to have more compassion on issues like education and healthcare. And so he has made it really tough for those Republican suburban women who supported him in 2016 to stick by him. It's just an onslaught of insults every day.
And indeed, they did not stick by. That was so clear last night. The successes for the Republicans was a coalition of older, whiter, more male voter, less likely to have college degrees. This is what we're getting already from the exit polls and the profile so far. Fewer than 4 in 10 women, fewer than 4 in 10, all through, voted for Republican. What challenges does that pose for your party? Or does it even care?
That's a great question. I know. I wish they cared more. Republicans are great at turning out the vote, no matter what the cost is, but there will be a cost, Heather. There will be a time that demographics will not be on their side at all. And in the long-term future of the party, this is going to help them. They keep ignoring their own advice. If you recall, in 2012, when Mitt Romney lost, the GOP did a big post-election autopsy, and they said, that's it. We have to focus on younger voters. We have to focus on women. We have to focus on people of color. And they did not do any of those things. They're just running campaigns year by year, trying to hold on to the power. But demographics are changing swiftly, not in their favor. And this is a terrible long-term strategy for the party.
It must be a challenge to be a smart, young Republican woman, I would think. So look quickly in the last seconds I have with you. 2020, where do women fit for the party?
Women are extremely important in presidential elections. So since 1964, there's been a higher proportion of women voters than men in every single election. Since 1980, in every single election, there have been more women voters than men. So they really are, the more important half of the electorate. And I just hope that, well, it's probably unrealistic to think Donald Trump will have any sort of challenge in 2020. But when 2024 comes around, I really hope we don't go in the direction of Donald Trump. I hope we have someone like Condoleezza Rice or Nikki Haley. These would be much better choices, reasonable, responsible, knowledgeable people who have government experience. But as far as 2020 goes, this is, it's up to the Democrats to see who they'll pick to challenge the president.
Indeed. The wave of women bypassing Republicans largely this time around. But thanks for looking to the future with me. I appreciate it. Lauren Wright in Princeton this morning.
Thanks, Heather.